When the message was sent, no one in the galaxy thought it would reach Earth. It wasn't even meant for humans. It was an old emergency code. A distress call drifting through deep space meant only for the galactic powers, those who ruled the stars for thousands of years. The signal was desperate, full of static, but the words were clear enough. SOS. Help us, Deathworlders are rising. For the Galactic Council, it was just another cry from a small planet caught in a border conflict. But for humans, the message sounded like something else, a call for help from the unknown. It reached Earth's deep space listening network by accident, bounced through old satellites and secret observatories. The message was decoded not by generals or politicians, but by a group of independent researchers who thought they had just found proof of alien life. At first, the world didn't believe it. Governments dismissed it as interference, a hoax, or a trick of space noise. But then came the second signal, clearer, sharper, and filled with panic. It carried coordinates and something else, data signatures that didn't match any known natural source. It wasn't random. Someone, or something, was asking for help. When the data reached the United Earth Command, it was treated as top secret. Scientists gathered in underground facilities decoding the strange symbols and voices. What they found sent a chill through every heart in the room. The message was not sent to Earth. It was a warning about Earth. The alien distress call described Deathworlders, beings so dangerous that contact with them meant certain destruction. The data described a planet classified as a red-level world, hostile to most forms of life. The planet's name, Terra. For centuries, humans had been alone, believing they were small in the vast universe. But now they learned the truth. The galaxy already knew them, and it feared them. In a high-security meeting room, military officers and scientists argued over what to do next. Some said it was fake. Others said it was a test from an unknown civilization. But a few old records buried deep in classified archives told another story. There had been signals before, weak, unconfirmed, but similar. It was as if someone out there had been watching Earth for a long time. Across the world, the story began to leak. Anonymous hackers released fragments of the message online. People heard strange alien voices saying words like containment, exile, and forbidden zone. Conspiracy forums exploded. Some said the government was hiding alien contact. Others believed Earth was already under observation, while people argued something much bigger was already happening beyond the solar system. In the outer edges of known space, a group of alien fleets had gathered, ships from dozens of species united under one flag, the Deathworlders Armada. Their mission was simple: locate the source of the Deathworld signal and ensure it never threatened the galaxy again. They thought Earth was weak, a primitive world with slow ships and old technology. They had no idea what they were about to find. Back on Earth, preparations were already underway. After the first data packet, the message didn't stop. More followed, transmissions full of warnings, coordinates, and strange words like containment breach. The data also included star maps that matched no human record, except for one point: the solar system itself. Earth scientists realized something terrifying. The aliens were coming. In the silence of space, humanity began to change. The global powers united faster than ever before. Old enemies shared data, hidden projects came out of shadows, and for the first time in history, Earth prepared for a threat not from itself, but from the stars. There were no speeches, no public announcements, just quiet mobilization. Satellite networks reactivated, long-range scanners swept the dark, and defense programs that had been canceled decades ago suddenly came back to life. Every world leader received the same message from the United Earth Command: unknown contact possible. Prepare for worst-case scenario. In underground bases, scientists worked day and night decoding the alien data. They discovered patterns in the transmission, maps, energy readings, and something resembling biological profiles. The Deathworlders weren't a myth. The galaxy had studied Earth's wildlife, its climate, even its history. To them, humanity's home planet wasn't a paradise. It was a death trap. Temperatures, diseases, predators, weather, every part of Earth was deadly compared to other worlds. And yet humans had not only survived but thrived. To the rest of the galaxy, that made them monsters. As the decoding continued, one scientist whispered something that froze the entire room. They didn't send a call for help. They sent a warning to stay away from us, but it was too late. The alien armada was already approaching the edge of the solar system. Their leaders thought they were doing the right thing, protecting their galaxy from a dangerous species that might one day rise and destroy them all. They underestimated humanity. When the first alien probe entered Earth's orbit, it didn't go unnoticed. Radar stations in multiple countries picked it up within seconds. Military satellites tracked it as it hovered over the Pacific Ocean. It stayed there for almost an hour, scanning, analyzing, recording, and then it vanished, pulled back into the black void of space. The event shook every nation. The world was now on high alert. Even those who had denied alien existence could no longer ignore the truth. Something was watching Earth, and it wasn't friendly. In the following weeks, smaller ships appeared at the edge of the moon's orbit, their energy signatures unfamiliar to human sensors. Some tried to communicate, others stayed silent. Humanity tried peaceful contact, no response. Then came the first sign of hostility. A satellite destroyed in orbit, melted to debris by an unknown weapon. That was the moment Earth stopped waiting. Humanity had always fought when cornered. This time was no different. Every scientist, soldier, and engineer worked as one. New weapons were built not for invasion but for defense. Space stations were armed, lunar bases powered up, and experimental drives were tested in record time. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was becoming a fortress. The alien armada, still far from Earth, received fragments of human transmissions, short, coded, impossible to break. One message stood out. It was brief, calm, and human. "We received your SOS, but you made a mistake. You called the wrong species." That message spread like wildfire across the alien fleets. Some thought it was a bluff. Others feared what it meant. But deep down, among their ranks, a quiet realization began to form. Maybe the legends about Deathworlders were true. Maybe they had pushed the wrong planet too far. On Earth, no one celebrated. The air was heavy with silence, tension, and unity. The human race stood at the edge of something new, not exploration, but survival. For the first time in history, all nations shared one goal: to protect home. And somewhere in the cold, distant dark, the galaxy's greatest armada was about to learn why Earth was never meant to be underestimated. The war hadn't started yet. But the moment that SOS reached human ears, it had already begun. After the strange SOS message reached Earth and the alien armada started moving toward the solar system, the world changed completely. Everything people thought they knew about life, science, and safety suddenly felt too small, too fragile. The sky looked the same, but the fear behind it was different now. In every corner of the planet, people whispered about the message. Governments stayed silent, pretending everything was normal, but the internet was filled with strange leaks and shaky videos showing lights moving unnaturally in the night sky. Some thought it was just space junk or meteor showers, but those who worked in observatories knew the truth. Something big was getting closer. Inside underground control rooms, Earth's best minds were now working together. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers sat side by side, watching screens filled with coded alien signals and radar blips. The alien armada was still far, but its movement was clear. Thousands of ships arranged in formation, traveling with perfect precision. They weren't explorers. They were preparing for something much larger. Earth had never been this united before. Countries that once refused to share technology now opened their secret files. Old rivals exchanged data, blueprints, and research. Humanity's survival was more important than politics. They didn't know what those alien ships could do. But one thing was clear. If they arrived, they wouldn't be coming in peace. While the leaders discussed strategies, scientists focused on decoding the alien language. The more they studied it, the more they realized how different it was from anything known. The symbols looked mathematical but also emotional, like each line carried both logic and feeling. That scared them even more, because it meant the beings behind the message were not machines. They had fear, pride, and motives. One night, a small team finally cracked part of the transmission. What they found was shocking. The alien message wasn't just a warning about humans, it was a plan. It mentioned containment zones, preemptive strikes, and neutralization before awakening. Those words chilled everyone who read them. It meant the galaxy had decided long ago that Earth should never be allowed to grow beyond its planet. The realization hit hard, Humanity had been seen as a threat before even reaching the stars. Somewhere out there, ancient species had watched humans struggle through wars, diseases, and disasters and had labeled them as dangerous, not because of what they had done, but because of what they might one day become. The world's reaction was a mix of fear and fury. How could they be judged before even being known? Why were they called Deathworlders? A word that sounded like an insult, a curse written into galactic history. The answer came slowly through data analysis. Alien archives described Earth as a place where everything fought to survive. The atmosphere was toxic to most species. The gravity was too strong, the oceans too salty, the wildlife too aggressive. To them, Earth was madness, a place no life should have evolved on. And yet humans did. Not only survived, but built civilizations, art, technology, and dreams. To the rest of the galaxy, that defied reason. So the galaxy decided to stop them before they reached the stars. When that truth reached the United Earth Council, a quiet anger spread across the room. It wasn't loud or violent, but it was the kind of anger that changes history. For centuries, humans had fought each other over land, religion, and power. Now, for the first time, they had a common enemy, not out of hatred, but out of survival. The military began secret missions in orbit. Satellites were converted into defense stations, carrying new types of energy weapons. Old space programs, once meant for peaceful exploration, were reactivated with military funding. Factories started producing strange alloys and shield materials. Engineers who once built cars were now designing space armor. Meanwhile, ordinary people were told nothing. The governments released controlled information, stories about meteor activity, satellite upgrades, and communication testing. But deep down, many citizens could feel something was off. The world was too quiet, too focused, too united for it to be normal. The first visible sign came in the form of a massive glowing object near Jupiter. It wasn't natural. It moved with purpose, rotating slowly, scanning. Astronomers caught it on their telescopes before the feed was cut off by authorities. Those few images that leaked online showed something terrifying. A ship larger than any human creation, built like a city floating in darkness. The alien fleet had arrived. It didn't attack. Not yet. It just waited silent, watching. Some thought they were giving humans a chance to surrender or prove harmless. But Earth was not going to bow down. Inside command centers, generals and scientists discussed strategy. Attacking first could start a war the planet might not survive, but waiting could mean destruction. The solution was found somewhere in between. Prepare everything, show no aggression, but let the aliens see that humans were not weak. A small group of astronauts volunteered for a risky mission, to launch a probe closer to the alien fleet and try to communicate peacefully. The probe carried simple symbols, mathematical patterns, and a message written in hundreds of languages. We mean no harm. We seek peace. For hours there was no reply. The world held its breath. Then suddenly the probe's signal went silent. Nothing came back. No explosion, no interference, just silence, as if it had been erased from existence. That silence was louder than any weapon. It told Earth everything it needed to know. The alien fleet had no intention of talking. After that, things changed quickly. Earth's defenses became priority. Every scientist worked without sleep. Every soldier trained without rest. Spaceports became war zones filled with machines, drones, and experimental craft. Humanity was preparing for its first interstellar conflict, not because they wanted it, but because they had no choice. And yet, among all that fear, something beautiful happened. People stopped fighting each other. Borders didn't matter anymore. Soldiers from different nations trained together, shared food, shared stories. Scientists exchanged ideas freely. For once, humanity truly acted like one species, not divided nations. As days passed, the alien fleet grew larger. More ships arrived, cruisers, carriers, and massive constructs that blocked out the stars. But none of them fired. They were waiting for something or someone to give the final order. One night, in a secret underground lab, a group of young scientists made an unexpected discovery. While scanning the alien transmissions, they noticed faint echoes hidden in the signal, like a repeating pulse behind the main code. After hours of decoding, the pattern became clear. It was a countdown. No one knew what it was counting down to, but the numbers kept dropping. Earth now had limited time. The message was spread across the command network. Event in 72 hours. All units stand by. In those 3 days, the world held its breath. The skies above were quiet, but everyone could feel the weight of the universe pressing down. Families stayed indoors. Communication lines went silent, and even the wind seemed to stop. In orbit, space stations watched as strange energy waves began forming near the alien ships. They looked like massive storms made of light, swirling, growing brighter. Then, without warning, the first bolt of energy fired, not toward Earth but into deep space. It wasn't an attack. It was a signal. The galaxy had decided. They had given their warning. They had waited for peace. Now they were coming to erase the threat they had feared for so long. Earth answered the only way it knew how, with courage. All across the planet, lights turned red. Command centers came alive. Pilots entered their ships, soldiers took their positions, and scientists watched the sky in silence. The world that had once looked up at the stars with wonder was now staring back with defiance, because humans had learned one thing through their painful history. No matter how impossible the odds, they never gave up. And as the first alien ships moved closer, their shadows covering the moon, the human message repeated across every radio frequency, every channel, every screen: we didn't ask for this war, but if you come for us, we will stand. The countdown reached 0. The galaxy had pushed too far, and humanity was ready to answer. The countdown had ended, and space was no longer silent. On that day, every satellite, radar system, and observatory on Earth picked up the same signal. The alien armada had begun its movement. Thousands of ships, glowing like stars, shifted into formation and started their descent toward the solar system. It was no longer a theory or a distant rumor. The invasion had started, but humanity was not the same as it had been a few weeks ago. The fear that once divided them had turned into unity. Every nation now acted as one. The old flags and rivalries no longer mattered. The only thing that mattered was Earth, the home that everyone shared. Inside command centers buried deep underground, teams worked in silence, their eyes fixed on glowing screens. The alien ships were enormous, their energy readings far beyond anything human sensors had seen before. Yet for the first time, humans were ready. Every defense system was online. Orbital weapons, electromagnetic shields, laser arrays, and newly developed plasma drives were positioned across the moon and in near-Earth orbit. The first alien contact came quietly, a formation of 5 ships approaching at low speed. They didn't fire, didn't communicate, didn't respond to any human signals. Earth's scientists tried to reach out again, sending peace messages in every known frequency. But there was still no reply. Then one of the alien ships released a small sphere that began scanning the planet. Within seconds, it sent back data to the fleet. And that was it. The war began. A beam of energy, brighter than lightning, shot from the alien vessel and hit an empty ocean. The explosion created a massive shockwave, large enough to be detected around the world. It was a warning, not meant to destroy but to show power. However, humanity had already made a decision. They wouldn't be scared anymore. From the moon's surface, Earth's first defense system activated. A chain of orbital cannons locked onto the alien fleet. The order was short and clear. Fire. Hundreds of energy bolts lit up the darkness, crossing the distance between the moon and the alien ships. For a moment, space looked like it was on fire. 2 alien ships were hit directly. They didn't explode, instead they just froze. Their energy signatures went dark, and the rest of the fleet stopped moving for a few seconds, almost as if in disbelief. The human defenders didn't cheer. They didn't have time. More ships appeared from behind Jupiter, moving fast and spreading into attack formations. The war that everyone had hoped to avoid was now real. The next few hours became the longest in human history. Space turned into chaos. Every second, messages flew between command centers and orbital bases. Soldiers, pilots, engineers, everyone worked together like one heartbeat. The first wave of alien drones entered Earth's orbit, small, fast, and deadly. They tried to disable human satellites, but humans had learned from their past. Their systems were now shielded and reinforced. For every satellite that fell, 2 more came online. Human pilots launched from orbital platforms, their small crafts nothing compared to the alien warships. But humanity had something that the galaxy didn't expect: adaptability. The alien ships followed perfect, predictable patterns. Humans didn't. They changed tactics mid-battle using instincts, emotion, and chaos. It confused the enemy. In one of the biggest battles near the moon's dark side, human squadrons managed to surround a massive alien carrier. It was 10 times larger than any human ship, but it couldn't match their speed. Using magnetic bombs and gravity pulses, the humans damaged its propulsion system. When the explosion came, it lit up the moon's horizon like sunrise. That was humanity's first major victory, proof that the Deathworlders could fight back. Down on Earth, billions of people watched the night sky, knowing that just above them a war for survival was being fought. There was fear, yes, but also pride. For the first time, humans weren't the ones starting a war. They were defending everything they loved. Families stayed together, praying, helping, and doing whatever they could to support the global effort. In the following days, battles spread across the solar system. Mars colonies were turned into supply bases. Mining ships from the asteroid belt were converted into armored carriers. Even civilian pilots volunteered to carry supplies through dangerous zones. Humanity had become a living network, a planet fighting as one mind, one will. But the galaxy wasn't giving up easily. The alien armada called for reinforcements. More ships arrived from deep space, their designs strange and ancient, powered by technology that humans could barely understand. Some of these ships didn't use engines. They moved using energy fields that bent gravity itself. The odds were impossible, but humans had something no technology could replace: determination. Inside one of Earth's underground labs, scientists worked on a desperate idea: to turn the same energy that the aliens used against them. They studied the destroyed alien drones, trying to understand their power sources. What they found changed everything. The alien energy wasn't endless. It was alive, based on biological systems that needed constant control. That weakness became humanity's hope. A small group of researchers developed a new kind of weapon, an energy disruptor that could interfere with alien power signatures. It wasn't perfect and it could fail at any moment, but it was all they had. The weapon was mounted on a human ship and sent straight toward the enemy fleet. When the weapon activated, it didn't cause an explosion. Instead, the space around the alien ships began to shimmer. Their shields flickered and their formations broke. For a few moments, the impossible happened. The alien armada lost control. Human forces rushed forward, striking with everything they had. That battle became known as the 3-hour stand. For 3 hours, human ships fought non-stop, destroying dozens of enemy vessels while protecting Earth's orbit. The cost was high. Thousands of pilots never returned. But their sacrifice gave Earth something more valuable than victory. It gave hope. The alien commanders finally realized their mistake. They had underestimated humanity's will to survive. They thought they were facing a primitive world. But what they found was something far stronger: a species that refused to die quietly. In the aftermath, both sides pulled back to recover. The alien armada stopped advancing and their signals became quieter, almost hesitant. Earth's defenses held, though heavily damaged. The planet had survived the first wave. But deep inside their ships, the alien leaders were confused. How could a young race born on a dangerous planet stand against a galactic army? The data they gathered didn't make sense. Humans fought not just with strategy but with emotion, with something no machine or logic-driven species could predict. Back on Earth, scientists studied the alien wreckage, learning more with every piece they found. Their technology was thousands of years ahead, but humans were fast learners. They began adapting alien tech into their own weapons and shields. Within weeks, Earth's defenses became even stronger. Still, everyone knew the war was far from over. The alien fleet hadn't been destroyed, only pushed back, and their pride wouldn't let them stop. They had declared Earth a danger to the galaxy, and now their honor demanded victory. But what they didn't understand was that humanity had changed forever. The fear that once lived in people's hearts was gone. Now there was only resolve. The world that once dreamed of reaching the stars had finally earned the right to defend them. As the alien ships reorganized in the distance, planning their next move, a quiet message was sent from Earth to every human station, every ship, every base. This is not just a war for survival. This is a message to the galaxy. We are not monsters. We are not Deathworlders. We are human. And we will fight for our home. Those words echoed through space, carried by thousands of transmitters. Even some alien ships intercepted the transmission. It wasn't a threat, and it was a promise. And somewhere, deep in the cold dark of space, An alien commander finally said the words that none of them wanted to admit. We may have awakened something we can't control. The war for Earth had just begun, but the galaxy was already learning what humanity truly was. Not the monsters they feared, but the survivors they never expected. The war had reached a point where no one could pretend life was normal anymore. The stars that once looked peaceful now felt like open wounds in the night sky. Every person on Earth knew that above them, in the endless dark, humanity was fighting for survival. Cities kept their lights dim to hide from detection, and skies were often filled with the trails of defense drones and rockets moving like falling stars. After the 3-hour stand, Earth had managed to hold its ground. The alien armada had retreated temporarily to regroup, and that short silence gave humanity a little time to breathe. But everyone knew it wouldn't last. The aliens weren't defeated, they were just studying their enemy. And when they came back, they would be prepared. Inside the United Earth Command, tension filled every corridor. People slept in chairs, ate from ration packs, and worked endlessly. There was no day or night anymore, only shifts. Scientists tried to improve the disruptor weapon that had weakened the alien shields, while engineers repaired damaged satellites and ships. Everyone had the same thought. The next wave would be bigger. On the streets, life had changed too. Schools were closed and families stayed together, helping each other as if they were one big family. People shared whatever food they had, and even strangers looked after each other. Humanity had learned something powerful. When everything else falls apart, unity becomes the only weapon left. Meanwhile, deep in space, the alien fleet was changing its formation. Their leaders were angry. They had never lost a battle to a species so young and unpredictable. They couldn't understand why the Deathworlders, as they called humans, refused to surrender. To them, surrender was logical. But to humans, it wasn't even an option. The Alien Council decided to send a message, not in words, but in action. They planned something that would make Earth understand the cost of defiance. And then, one evening, it began. Without warning, hundreds of small alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They were fast, invisible to radar until they were almost too close to stop. The sky lit up with streaks of red and blue as the ships released energy pulses, targeting communication towers, power grids, and military bases. It wasn't a full invasion, it was a show of force, a punishment. Cities went dark one by one. Power vanished and silence filled the air. For a moment it felt like the world was ending. But then something remarkable happened. In the darkness, humans adapted. People started using solar generators, emergency lights, and even hand signals to organize. Communities worked together without waiting for orders. Old radios were brought back to life, carrying the same message everywhere. Stay calm. Stay together. Earth still stands. The alien ships didn't expect resistance from the ground. They thought the attack would terrify the population into surrender. Instead, people fought back with everything they had. Not high-tech weapons, but creativity and courage. In one coastal area, fishermen used old signal flares to distract alien drones, helping local defense forces shoot them down. In another city, students and engineers built improvised EMP devices using scrap metal and batteries. They weren't soldiers, but their inventions worked. The drones that came too close fell from the sky, their systems fried by the electromagnetic waves. All across the planet, small acts of bravery became the heartbeat of resistance. Humanity was proving that war wasn't just fought with weapons, it was fought with willpower. While the world fought on the ground, the space battle raged above. The alien fleet returned stronger and more organized. Their ships were massive, their movements perfect like a machine made of light. But humans had something new. They had learned. Every human base now used rotating frequencies, confusing alien scanners. Decoy satellites released false energy signatures, leading enemy fire away from real targets. The new disruptor technology, though unstable, was placed on several human ships ready to use at a moment's notice. When the first alien waves entered orbit, the human fleet didn't run. They charged. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Human ships, smaller but faster, moved like swarms of light around the larger alien vessels. They used the debris from previous battles as cover, darting between burning wrecks and shattered satellites. The aliens tried to track them, but the disruptors kept interrupting their targeting systems. Then came the moment everyone would remember, forever, when the sky itself burned. the alien fleet fired its largest weapon, a beam of energy so powerful it lit up the entire horizon. It wasn't aimed at cities or bases, but at Earth's upper atmosphere. The blast caused the air to ignite, turning the night sky into a wave of golden fire. From every continent, people looked up and saw the heavens glowing. Some screamed, others prayed, but most simply watched in silence. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. But Earth didn't fall. The beam drained most of the alien fleet's power, and humanity struck back immediately, using the last of their energy reserves. The human fleet launched everything they had: railguns, missiles, plasma bursts, and even ramming attacks. A massive alien cruiser exploded, breaking into pieces that drifted like burning stars across space. The light from the explosion reached the surface, and for a moment the people below cheered. They had seen the impossible, proof that even giants could fall. Still, the cost was high. Hundreds of human ships were lost. Thousands of pilots never returned. But their sacrifice wasn't in vain. The alien fleet pulled back once again, retreating beyond the moon to repair. In the following days, Earth's atmosphere was filled with smoke and debris from the battles. The northern skies glowed faintly, as if the war had painted the heavens with light. The world mourned its losses, but it also celebrated survival. Humanity had faced extinction and still stood tall. In one underground broadcast, a human commander spoke to the world. His face was tired, his uniform burned, but his voice was calm and full of strength. He said, "And we are not fighting to conquer. We are fighting to exist. They came to erase us, but they found something stronger than fear. They found humanity." That speech spread everywhere, even to the soldiers in orbit who were still fighting. It became a symbol, a reminder that no matter how dark the night became, humans would never surrender their light. As the days passed, scientists discovered something new in the captured alien wreckage. There were traces of memory data, stored inside their ships, images and sounds of other planets that had once resisted the same galactic armada. All of them were gone now, wiped from history. The aliens had done this before, but none of those worlds had been like Earth. Humanity was different. Earth's people were not born in comfort or peace. They had evolved by surviving storms, earthquakes, hunger, and endless struggle. The same harshness that made their world dangerous had also made them strong. The aliens had misunderstood. They thought Earth was a curse, but it was their greatest teacher. In every surviving command post, humans studied the alien data carefully. They learned how their enemies communicated, how they powered their ships, and how they thought. Slowly, humanity began turning fear into knowledge and knowledge into strategy. The war had taught the galaxy something they would never forget. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a warning. Still, everyone knew this was far from the end. The alien fleet wasn't destroyed, only wounded. More reinforcements were coming. Humanity had won battles, but the real war, the one for survival and recognition, was just beginning. As the days turned into weeks, the skies began to clear. The burning trails of fallen ships faded away, and stars once again appeared. But for every person who looked up now, the stars no longer looked peaceful. They looked like reminders of what waited beyond, both danger and destiny. In the ruins of a silent city, a small child asked their guardian a simple question, looking up at the glowing sky. "Will they come back?" The guardian looked at the stars, then back at the child, and said softly, "Yes, but next time, we'll be ready." And somewhere far away, deep in the shadows of another galaxy, a new council of alien leaders gathered. Their voices were filled with doubt and fear. They had seen what Earth could do, what humanity could become. The oldest among them whispered the words that echoed across the chamber. The Deathworlders were not a mistake of nature. They were nature's answer. ChatGPT said, "The months after the first battle changed everything. Earth was no longer the same planet it used to be. Quiet, divided, uncertain. Now it had one shared purpose: survival. The governments that once argued over borders now stood together under a single flag. One symbol representing a united humanity. Factories that once made cars began producing defense ships. Scientists who once studied stars were now designing weapons strong enough to pierce alien shields. It was as if the world had suddenly remembered that humans were not weak. They were survivors. The Alien Alliance, still confident, believed Earth's first victory was just luck. Their fleets moved again, spreading across space, planning to finish what they started. But this time Earth was ready. The communication satellites that once sent TV signals now mapped alien movements in real time. Hidden bases on the Moon and Mars came alive. Every nation had joined hands, sharing intelligence and technology that had been secret for decades. In the middle of this global effort, people changed too. Farmers became drone pilots, teachers learned to analyze star charts, and children grew up hearing stories of bravery instead of bedtime fairy tales. Hope had returned, and it was burning brighter than fear. Yet deep down, everyone knew the real storm hadn't even started. The first counterattack was launched from orbiting stations built in record time. These human-made ships weren't as large as the alien cruisers, but they were faster, smarter, and filled with pilots who had something the invaders didn't: emotion. When those ships left Earth's orbit, the entire planet watched. Every screen showed the same image: the blue planet shining behind fleets of humans heading toward the unknown. It was a moment of silence and pride mixed with fear. As the fleets approached the alien lines, communication went dark. For hours, Earth waited. Families prayed. Streets were empty. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, one by one, signals returned. The aliens had underestimated the humans again. Earth's strategy wasn't to overpower, but to outthink. They had used gravity from nearby moons, false transmissions, and mirror satellites to confuse the enemy. Several alien ships were destroyed, while others retreated, leaving behind wreckage filled with technology humans had never seen before. Scientists quickly began studying the remains. They discovered materials that could bend light, metals that could repair themselves, and strange energy cores that never ran out. Within weeks, Earth's engineers were already adapting those alien technologies into their own. It wasn't just defense anymore, it was evolution. Humanity was growing faster than anyone could predict. But this progress came at a cost. Reports started surfacing that the aliens were no longer just attacking from space. They were trying to disrupt Earth's weather, communication, and even biological systems. Small satellites crashed mysteriously. Power grids failed across entire continents. Strange signals began to interfere with human minds, causing confusion and nightmares among soldiers and scientists working near alien wreckage. Something deeper and darker was happening. It became clear that this was no longer just a war of ships and weapons. It was psychological. The aliens wanted to break human unity, to turn fear into chaos. For a while, it started working. People began doubting their leaders. Rumors spread that Earth's own scientists were being influenced by alien technology. But then something unexpected happened. Humans adapted again. Instead of falling apart, communities began to rely more on each other. Cities formed support groups. Neighbors took care of one another, and people shared everything from food to hope. The world realized that unity was their strongest weapon. No alien power could understand the depth of human emotion: love, loyalty, sacrifice. In the middle of this chaos, one global message was sent out to the universe, not as a threat but as a warning. It simply said, "We do not seek war, but we will never kneel." The message spread faster than light through every alien communication channel, reaching systems far beyond the original invaders. Some alien species, curious about humans, began secretly observing from a distance. Others began questioning the war altogether. By now, Earth was transforming into something new, part human, part technological, part legend. The planet that had once been ignored by the galaxy had become the center of it. People started to call themselves not just humans, but Earthlings, a single race united by survival and courage. The skies that once held fear were now filled with hope and determination. But deep in the void, the alien High Council was not done. They had lost too many battles, too much pride. To them, Earth was an insult, a young, wild world that refused to bow to centuries of galactic rule. Their decision was final: a full-scale invasion. Billions of alien soldiers, thousands of warships, and weapons capable of burning planets were being prepared. And Earth knew it. The signs were everywhere. Energy readings, strange movements near the outer edges of the solar system, and intercepted alien transmissions. This time there would be no hiding, no escape. Humanity's final test was coming. Back on Earth, preparations began once again. Families said goodbye to their loved ones going to space. Old enemies hugged like brothers. The entire world pulsed with courage and fear together. Every scientist, pilot, and worker had one mission: protect home no matter what. Yet, in those quiet moments before the storm, there was peace. People stood under the same sky, realizing that no matter how dark space became, the light of Earth's will could never be erased. And so, as humanity stood at the edge of history, one truth became clear. They were no longer fighting just to survive. They were fighting to prove something to the universe, that compassion and courage were stronger than power and fear. What no one knew, however, was that the next battle would change everything, not only for Earth but for the entire galaxy. The war that started as a fight for survival was about to become something far greater. The humans had sent an SOS once, and the galaxy had answered with war. Now it was humanity's turn to respond, and this time they were ready. The final war was coming closer with every passing hour. From the frozen poles to the deserts, people could feel it in the air, a strange silence before the storm. Earth's skies were filled with defense ships, satellites, and drones ready for the last stand. The once blue atmosphere now shimmered with thousands of lights, each one representing someone's hope, someone's courage. Humanity had come a long way, from confusion and fear to complete unity. Every person on the planet knew what was at stake: their home, their existence, and their freedom. The alien armada was unlike anything ever seen. It covered the sky like a second night, stretching farther than telescopes could measure. Their weapons glowed in terrifying patterns, and their ships moved in perfect synchronization. To them, this was supposed to be the end of Earth. To humans, it was the beginning of their legacy. As the first warning alarms echoed across the world, every base, every outpost came alive. The command centers filled with voices, calm, focused, and determined. No one panicked anymore. They had seen too much, lost too much, and learned even more. This was no longer just a war between two species. It was a test of what it meant to be human. In the dark void beyond the moon, the two armies faced each other. For a few moments there was only silence. Then, without a word, the battle began. Blinding flashes of light filled space as ships clashed. Energy waves rippled through the void, and explosions painted the stars in fire. The humans fought not with numbers but with creativity. They used traps made of asteroids, electromagnetic pulses, and new gravity weapons that twisted the enemy's movements. Every move was unpredictable. It was human thinking at its sharpest. Down on Earth, people watched through massive screens. They could see their defenders fighting among the stars. Every victory made the world cheer. Every loss brought tears. Families held each other close, whispering silent prayers. Even those who could not fight found ways to help, building, healing, supporting. The spirit of humanity had become its greatest shield. The battle raged for hours, turning into days. The alien armada kept sending reinforcements, their technology far superior. But their minds couldn't understand human adaptability. They were logical, calculated, and precise. But humans were emotional, unpredictable, and brave. For every ship Earth lost, 2 more would rise from nowhere, rebuilt with parts scavenged from fallen alien crafts. In the middle of the war, something unexpected happened. A signal came from one of the alien ships, not an attack, but a message. It was from a small faction within the alien ranks, soldiers who had begun questioning their orders. They had seen the humans fight with honor and protect even their wounded enemies. It confused them. To the aliens, mercy was weakness, but on Earth it was strength. These few alien soldiers decided they could no longer fight against such a species. They turned against their own armada, joining Earth's defense. Their ships provided inside data, codes, strategies, and weaknesses that no human could have ever discovered. For the first time in history, 2 species that had been enemies fought side by side. That moment changed everything. The tides began to turn. With new intelligence, Earth's fleet focused on the enemy's main command ship, the heart of the invasion. It was massive, surrounded by countless defenders and hidden behind energy barriers. Getting close was almost impossible, but humans didn't rely on possible. A small strike team volunteered for a near-suicidal mission. Their task was simple: reach the command ship and disable the core that powered the alien fleet. The world held its breath as they moved forward. Every second felt like eternity. The team weaved through debris, dodged beams, and slipped into the ship's shadow. No one knew if they would make it back. Then suddenly all communication went silent. For hours, Earth waited again, no updates, no signals. People feared the worst. Then, without warning, every alien ship in the sky flickered. Their weapons stopped firing. One by one, their systems began to shut down. The humans had done it. They had destroyed the core. The command ship exploded into a brilliant flash, lighting up the dark side of space like a sunrise. For the first time in weeks, there was peace. No sound of war, no signal of attack. Back on Earth, the news spread faster than light. People ran into the streets crying, shouting, hugging strangers. The war that once seemed unwinnable was finally over. The skies cleared, and for the first time in a long while, the stars looked peaceful again. But victory didn't feel like celebration. It felt heavy. So many had been lost, friends, families, heroes. The world had survived, but it had changed forever. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of memory and respect. Humanity had fought for its right to exist and proved something even greater. That unity, compassion, and courage could defeat any darkness. In the following months, Earth began rebuilding. Ruins turned into new cities, and broken lands became places of learning. The humans didn't just rebuild their planet, they rebuilt themselves. They learned to see the universe differently, not as a place of fear, but as a place of connection. Treaties were made with the alien defectors who had helped them. Together, they began to share knowledge, medicine, and technology, building a peaceful alliance. Children who once hid during air raids now looked at the sky with wonder, dreaming not of war, but of exploration. Space, which once brought death, now promised discovery. The message that Earth had sent, "We do not seek war, but we will never kneel," became a symbol of unity across galaxies. Years later, monuments were built where the first battles took place. They didn't honor a single person, but the spirit of humanity, the will to survive, to protect, and to love. The planet that once sent an SOS had now become a beacon of hope for countless worlds. As the sun rose over a peaceful Earth, one thing was certain. Humans were no longer seen as fragile beings from a small planet. They were now known throughout the galaxy as the Deathworlders, not because they brought destruction, but because they lived on a world of chaos and learned to survive anything. And yet, despite all their strength, they never forgot their heart. They had shown the universe that true power doesn't come from weapons or fear. It comes from unity, sacrifice, and the courage to stand up for what's right. The galaxy would never be the same again, and somewhere beyond the stars, as new civilizations watched the blue planet shining in the distance, they whispered one name with respect: Earth. The story of humanity had changed forever. What began as a desperate SOS ended as a legend, the tale of a species that refused to be broken, and in doing so, reminded the universe what it truly means to be alive.